What is going on, ladies and Mentalgen? It is Rowdy here, and in this video, I'm going to be showing off my $200 DIY racing sim rig. Now, before we get into this, I'm going to leave a few disclaimers. First off, this is not a step-by-step tutorial in any shape or form. This is simply me just showing off the rig that I built, and it's more useful for getting an idea of something you might want to build. So just keep that in mind. And the second thing is the $200 thing. So by $200, that price includes the wood, the screws that you're going to need, and also the seat. So this price does include the seat with it. It doesn't include the monitors, it doesn't include the wheel or the pedals, just simply the building materials and the seat itself. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. Alright, so here is a better look at the rig. So, there's a couple reasons why I went DIY instead of just buying a pre-built one off Amazon or whatever. Especially with the metal ones. So, a lot of problems I've been seeing with the metal ones are that I just wasn't really confident in them. They seem like they would wobble all around the place, like if you have a shifter or an e-brake or a steering wheel especially, where you're putting a lot of force onto it. There's a lot of motion going on, and it just doesn't look rigid enough to make it not wobble around everywhere. And I'm really anal about that stuff, so whenever I see something that wobbles around really easily or that's thin and looks flimsy, I just think of it as shit build quality. So wanted to build something that I knew was like my product and something that like built exactly the way I'd want it to be. So here's pretty much what we have going on here. So I got two 2x10s, cut them about yay big, yay high. I don't have specific measurements. I actually never bothered to do specific measurements during this whole build. The only time I did measure things was just to make things even. So like these two 2x10s, those two 2x10s, the table width, just stuff like that I need to get even. It's the only time I measured anything. Because trying to do everything precisely takes a lot more time, and I just wasn't really concerned about it. So, as far as the seat goes, the seat was like $135 on eBay, as I already mentioned. The rails were kind of a bitch to get on, but as far as like how I mounted the seat, you can see here that the rails are sitting on these like 1x4s or whatever these are, just cheap little pieces of wood. And then you see I have like a cross member going along the bottom. So this is screwed in. Nope, I'm not even aiming the camera at the right place. This whole assembly is screwed in to the plywood, so that's not really going anywhere. As far as like how I got the rails bolted down to it, well, it's just a nut and bolt really. You could barely see the bolt under there. But yeah, it's just squeezed together with a nut and bolt. Pretty easy. And the way I actually got the nut on there, I put some duct tape on the bottom of a wrench, and then took a power drill with the Allen set, and then bada boom. Kind of a bitch to get it on with your hand, but the wrench made it a hell of a lot easier. So as far as the wheel and pedals go, like getting those into position, pretty much what I did was I mocked everything up before I glued, or I didn't actually glue anything. I don't know why I said glue, but I mocked everything up before I had put screws and everything, just to get everything in the right position to fit me perfectly. So figured out that the table needed to be about this high because that's where the steering wheel sits. And then for the pedals down here, I basically got the pedals into the position I want them, as like according to like where the seat is. And the way I did the seat was I just pretty much put it in the middle as far as like how forward or backward it is on the rail. I can't even get my arm down in there to pull it back and forth, but yeah, you get it. And the pedals down here are actually held together. It's kind of janky, but it works. Just small little pieces of 2x4 screwed in on each side. Back here to stop it from sliding forward. Keep zooming in the wrong way. I'm still getting used to this camera. In the back to stop it from pushing forward, and on the sides to stop it from sliding side to side, of course. As far as cable management, yeah, there's none. So I'm gonna have to do something about that eventually. One thing I would do different is cut a little bit more off the end right here. You see, like, there's a bunch of empty space right here. This is holding all the cables for it for now. But yeah, about another 1.5 feet off the end there would have been nice. That might be a spot for a new PC later on down the road, so I don't know. Another thing I would do different is just simply making this table a little bit wider. The monitor kind of hangs off just a little bit, but because of the way the stand is made and how it's balanced, I don't really have to worry about it falling backwards or anything. Getting in and out of this thing isn't too bad, actually. So you just step in 1 foot at a time, and then there you go. In the seat pretty easily. So like I said, one of my goals with this was to make it as sturdy and steady as possible. And I believe I have achieved that pretty well. So in this footage, you're seeing me driving on the Nürburgring, on Gran Turismo 4, and whenever I lose control of the car just slightly, you can see the monitor shake around a little bit, but honestly, you can't even notice it at all whenever you're actually playing. So as far as sturdiness goes, this is pretty damn good. And plus, another bonus with it is that I actually have table space here. So this can be used for, like, potentially like a Stream Deck kind of thing. I hate Elgato products, but something like that would actually be handy in this case, even though I consider that to be a gimmick. I could also mount another mic, because you see I have that kind of mic stand right there, and it's stretched way out here, and it's kind of, I just need a couple more inches and it'll be perfect, but that's what she said. But yeah, I can also mount another mic right here if I wanted to. As far as like getting triple monitors go, I might have to do a wall mount or build some other way to mount monitors to get a triple monitor setup right here, but this 27-inch curved monitor is perfectly fine for me right now. And besides, this is a Sony 27-inch thing. It's 1440p, 144 hertz, 1 millisecond response time, and it's also HDR, and it's curved, like I already said. So I'll put the link for that in the description if you guys are interested. But yeah, so I think I covered most of everything so far. Oh, there goes my flip-flop. But yep. So I'll basically show off a little bit more of it just in case you're curious of exactly how I put this together. So you can see plywood on top of the 2x10, and every other build video I've seen is just people using nothing but 2x4s, and I'm like, 2x4 isn't the only thing that exists in the lumber world, so go with 2x10s. A lot more sturdy, but it is a lot more heavy, and it does take up more space, so you gotta keep that in mind. This thing, like, altogether, well, without, like, the wheel, the pedals, and the monitor, of course, probably weighs about 150 pounds or something. It's fucking heavy. So, yeah, you gotta keep that in mind. These 2x10s, just screwed in together with 4 screws into the side 2x10s. And you can see 2 screws up top. Obviously, it's the same on the other side. As far as these 2x10s going along the side, pretty much I have 5 screws going all the way down, evenly spaced out, going from the plywood into the 2x10, and it honestly doesn't really wobble at all. It's really strong wood. I forgot what type of wood this is, but you could probably tell by looking at it if you're a lumber freak. But yeah, another look. So, just pretty much how everything's put together. And I'll also put some screenshots of like how the seat mount assembly goes and everything. As far as like fit and finish, there's a couple little edges because these 2x10s weren't perfectly straight, especially this one. This one's kind of fucked up, as you can tell by the gaps right there in between the plywood and that other 2x10. Also going way down, there's a, yeah, it's kind of off just a hair, but it's not too big of an issue in my eyes. It's like a non-issue. So yeah, as far as like what else I'm gonna do to this thing, it's just gonna be cosmetic stuff after this, unless I decide I want to get a triple monitor setup, and then just add on to that. But for now, this is what I'm going to be rocking for a while. Also, one thing I kind of forgot to mention, but it was actually very important, it's these bastards. So this is a Logitech G29, G920, it's the same shit. But pretty much one big issue I was going to have is my knees hitting these clamps. And these clamps are huge, they're bulky, I don't know why they put them here, but it's a huge annoyance. And it was kind of a big problem. So the way I fixed that was I just put the pedals just a tad further back, and to compensate for that, I just moved the seat more forward. So, as far as like the wheel position and everything goes, my arm is perfectly bent for it, and I kind of wanted to make the wheel flat like this instead, but that would have been too much work because then I would have to angle the table, and then by angling the table, I can't set stuff on top of it, and plus I won't be able to set a monitor on top of it. So I had to go with a flat table, but it actually kind of worked out because the way you actually turn the wheel, your arm's going to be straighter, not perfectly straight, but straighter up top, and then down here I'll be bent more, and it kind of feels a little bit more natural that way actually. So because of that, I'm glad I didn't go with a flat wheel, and I just mounted it on the flat table, and now I have a place where I can put stuff up here like a stream deck, like I said. I can mount a mic back there, I can have a cold one right here, and it's all perfect. So yeah. Alright, so I realized I forgot to mention stuff about the seat itself. So, as far as the seat goes, the material is kind of rough. For some people, it might be a skin irritant. For me, it's just fine. It's no big deal, really. The ass pad is pretty decent. I mean, it's not bad, but I could see a problem with this, like, getting stretched out over time from ass sweat and shit like that. But this, the back pad, is rock solid, and so are the bolsters. So maybe after a couple hours this will get a little bit painful, but it was $135 for the seat and the rail. It's going in a racing sim, it's not going in a race car. So who gives a shit? I already sat in an uncomfortable office chair for about 5 years, and I never really had an issue. That's not the one. That's pretty much a new one, but yeah, I've never really had an issue with back pain while sitting down in any kind of seat or anything like that. So it's not a huge issue for me. It might be for other people, but just keep in mind the material is kind of rough. Yes, you can put a seat cover on it if you want, but this will do for me for now. So I believe I have finally covered everything about the rig. I'll probably paint it or add carpet to it at some point in the future, but for now, this will do just fine. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.